At the last meeting, a comment was made, or last meeting, or meeting before that I personally lost the town money because in 220 days, we would be receiving money from the landfill, except that I waved my magic wand and HB 1429 went down the tubes. I have the amendments here, so Harold, I would like Jeannie, because I believe Jeannie made that comment and blamed me and several other people for losing this money. I would like Jeannie to look at them, and I believe you have these, Jeannie, and let me know which amendment here would have given us money in 220 days. Okay? That's it. I have written an RSA 91A about HB 1429 requesting information. I know that Cheryl said that she is working on that. However, my request was on May 20th. I got a response on May 29th, which was 5 days. And I put in a second request on June 11th, and I still have not gotten the information that I requested. I have a feeling that we're not in compliance with the 91A ruling. So if somebody can see to that or get that information for me, I certainly will appreciate it.
As to what?
As to what? Oh.
91A ruling for what?
For, I had asked for all correspondence, electronic and otherwise, from the Bethlehem Town Lobbyist to the Bethlehem Select Board and to the Bethlehem Town Attorney and other parties. All correspondence from the Bethlehem Town Attorneys to the Bethlehem Select Board, the Town Lobbyist, and the other parties. All correspondence, electronic and otherwise, from Bethlehem's, etc., and all legal and lobbyist costs and incidental expenses incurred in the support of the origin of 1429, HB 1429. And I still haven't heard that, so I would appreciate it if the board could expedite this a little bit more quickly, because you really are not in compliance with 91A. Then we get to the minutes of 519, which a draft stated, and I'll read the last paragraph, at this point a verbal altercation took place in the meeting room, and Selectman Ingram moved to go into non-public session for the purpose of discussing legal, personnel, and reputation. The motion was seconded by Selectman Robillard and carried 5-0. Each member was polled, all agreeing to go into non-public. I was not here when, or I came in late, when the minutes of 519 were approved, and I find that it has been changed that at this point in an altercation, verbal altercation, and disorderly disturbance took place in the meeting room by Rose Israel involving Seth Goldstein. Selectman Ingram adjourned the meeting and moved to non-public. If we are going to put my name in there and Mr. Goldstein's name in there, then I think we have to add Mr. Friedman's name and Ms. Robillard's name, because they certainly added to the disturbance.
May I interrupt you for a moment?
No, you may not. No, I have 15 minutes.
Okay.
So I would like these minutes amended. There's two ways you can do it: go back to the draft, or amend these to include the other names. And if that is not going to happen, then I will submit here a letter that I want attached to tonight's meeting, and so that it will become a public document, and a disc of what took place at that meeting from another point of view, or from another camera. So I will put that here. I'll give this to you, Cheryl, because I only have one. I didn't think everyone wanted to take it home and look at it. Okay, so now we're going to this document, and I will pass it out to you, since there doesn't seem to be an agreement that we can change the minutes of those meetings. And I will read this. Thank you. Open letter to the citizens of Bethlehem. I apologize for not understanding your reluctance to speak out. I apologize for not believing you when you warned me about the kind of retaliation to expect for speaking the truth, challenging others, and to do the same for speaking and asking the hard questions and going against them. After the select board meeting on May 19th, I was subjected to their baiting and ridicule and humiliated to the point where I was in fear of my safety. Ms. Robillard directed comments to me by name, even though I was not part of the discussion or offered any advice at that time. Mr. Goldstein, in order to inflate his usefulness to them, stated that most representatives, quite a few, thought the comments that your mother, Rose Israel, made on HB 1429 were outrageous. He refused to give me the names of those reps or exactly what they said, because no such thing was ever said to him. Mr. Goldstein, if you can't prove it, don't say it. Before I could finish my questioning of Mr. Goldstein, Mr. Stan Harrison approached from out of nowhere and assaulted me by slapping my hand. When I called him on it, he said he would do it again. Ms. Robar saw the simple assault committed.
That's not true.
Okay, it might not be true, you'll have time to review it. I then attempted to leave the main room because I feared for my safety. As I was trying to leave, I walked past Mr. Friedman, Selectman, and he shouted at me that I did not belong there and to leave, and that I should go to the bathroom. Being really upset, at this time I told him to wake up.
You did not.
I did
You
not.
told me to ask myself. I don't care. You told me to don't ask myself. I never said a word to you. I have no reason to speak to you.
Well, I think that,
You don't say anything. You don't say anything about Mr. Freeman. Because I wouldn't allow you to I wouldn't allow myself. Continue.
well, I think you just was shut up. Upon trying to leave via the elevator, I was accosted by Miss Polanski, who would not let me pass and get on the elevator. She claimed she had something for me, and that when she stuck her hand out, I raised my hand to protect myself and knocked whatever it was out of her hand. I was shouting, "Get away from me, leave me alone, I don't want to talk to you." She ignored me and persisted on trying to hand me something. When I re-entered the main room to ask for help, Miss Roblar, who was director of a shelter for battered women, just shouted, "Leave the building, leave the building." I wonder if this is how she treats her clients. Two gentlemen finally came to my rescue and helped me to the elevator. Miss Polanski, parting words were, "You thought you could buy your way in." I am giving a copy of the video to prove that is exactly what happened. Unlike some, I do not lie or make up things. Here is the proof. Again, I apologize to the good Bethlehem citizens that have suffered at their hands over the past 10 years, to the people who tried to warn me, and those who would like to speak up but feel they can't. I do believe you. I did not believe you. I do now. However, I will continue to seek the truth and bear their wrath, because if I did, I could not live with myself, because I care more about Bethlehem than I do about my own sake. I have one more letter, and I'm sorry, but this is I just found this information out today. Cheryl, if you could put a signature on this and return one to me, I don't want to submit it. This one for you, Jean. Dan. Richard. Ron. Mr. Rigby. I'm sorry. To the Bethlehem Select Board, dear Selectman, I respectfully request that you look into the assault charges that I have filed against Mr. Stan Harrison on May 19, 2008. I would like to know if a complete and thorough investigation was done. I would like copies of all interviews that were conducted, investigative information and evidence that was gathered or used to make a determination of the disposition of this complaint. I also request a written report on the disposition of this complaint. It is my understanding that this complaint is no longer under investigation by the Bethlehem Police Department, and therefore the requested information must be made available to me within 3 days. Respectfully submitted. Thank you very much for your time.
I just would like to comment, Rose, before you leave, that the Board of Selectmen has absolutely no jurisdiction over criminal investigation. We'll have to pursue this with the police department.
Well, I have to tell you that I talked to the state police, and this is what I was directed to do first. Come to the selectmen. Now, if you will give me something in writing, say that you have no jurisdiction over this thing, I will then go to the Attorney General's office.
Okay.
So can I get a letter?
Okay.
Thank you. May I have this, just so...
Copy.
Oh, wait a minute. No, you should take this one, because this is the only one that's
I can't quite see you, Howard.
May I say something now? Yes, go ahead. The chief of the citizens of Bethlehem. To refresh this individual's mind, what a stupid type of menu she had that night. She was being escorted out by a gentleman. She got one step past my desk, where I sit at the desk, turned around without being provoked. I thought I was in the twilight zone to see that outbreak that she created. As she walked by, I smiled at her, she stepped, turned around, and said, "And you can go F yourself," and continued to walk out. And that same night, I spoke to innumerable amount of people, and I told them about that charade that went on. If anyone should be cited, that animal should.
Yeah.
Well, I think